It's an age-old question. What's the best budget sports car you can buy for, say, $10,000 to $15,000? Well, let me make a case for the Triumph Wedge. A clean sheet of paper design, the Wedge came out in 1975 as the fixed-roof two-door hardtop TR7. But by the time Triumph was done, they had a convertible version and the TR8 with an all-aluminum V8 power. Early coupes, most of them were roadsters like this one. And boy, these are fun to drive. Now, the answer to most budget sports car questions is always Miata. Well, not so here. Although Harris Mann's design was born with an inline four-cylinder and a 5-speed transmission, they left plenty of room in the engine bay for this. Buick Olds and Pontiac shared this all-aluminum 3.5-liter V8 for their senior compacts in 1961 to 63. Then General Motors, deciding to go in a less expensive cast iron direction for their V8s, sold the tooling and all the dies to England. And this engine powers the TR8 and then went on to a very useful life in Land Rovers and Range Rovers right up into the middle 80s. That means there's lots of used engines, a lot of them with a lot more than this 135 horsepower, to be had in junkyards or at the Wedge Shop, TWS in Taunton, Mass., which specializes in these cars. It was the 70s after all, so plaid was in fashion. As you note on the door panels here, you could get this tan and brown plaid, black and red, silver and blue, and green. This car came with plaid seats, but they've since been recovered in unattractive vinyl. I'd like to replace them with the originals, just for the, oh my gosh, factor. One thing about the TR7's cockpit, in contrast to the earlier Triumph TR4 or even MG's MGB, this cockpit is a lot wider and there's plenty of legroom. Yes, there's acres of hard plastic. It was the 70s after all, but a nice leather-covered steering wheel. Some have 85-mile-an-hour federal speedometers. This one's been upgraded to the 140-mile-an-hour speedometer. You steer your own gears through the 5-speed stick topped with an AMCO wood knob, and away you go. Triumph had a very broad color palette for the Wedge, starting with earth tones and then some really cool metallics. This is Poseidon green, and it's one of the most popular colors in TR7s and 8s. Now, one of the rarest is Triton green. That was on the launch car that was tested by U.S. magazines and found its way onto the cover of Car and Driver. Far as I can determine, only 3 Triton green TR8 roadsters made it to the United States. There are 2 in England and 1 roaming around Europe. That may be all. I'd love to have one. So let's get down to the value question. Good running TR7s can be had in the Rust Belt for $5,000. A really good TR7 will get up toward, but maybe not break, $10,000 currently. TR8 with the V8, well, they're going to start around $9,000 for a car with maintenance but a few needs, and go up, well, I've seen sales figures as high as the low 20s. So plan carefully. Make sure you check out the engine if you're looking at one of these, and look for oil leaks. There's bound to be 1 or 2. It is British after all. And power steering rack leaks. They're hard to fix. A lot of labor, very intensive. The engine has to lift up to get that rack out to get it rebuilt. So, is this the best value proposition in sports cars today? Let us know in the comments of your own experience and opinion. And thanks for watching.